Looks like our game is beginning.
The game is beginning with Revolution versus Wolzarg here. Wolzarg, of course, being the lower seed, I believe. Yes, absolutely. Chooses to draw, which was not actually his choice. That would be Revolution's choice. And we see a mulligan down to 6 here, and then Revolution keeps. One of these days, I want to have an in depth discussion about how I hate the mulligan rules in Hex, but that's for a different time. We see the opening Sapphire Shard pass off to Wolzarg, and we'll see what he is able to do here. Leads with the Shard of Innovation, likely choosing whatever threshold he wants the double of early, and that seems to be Ruby here. We see a Sapphire Shard hit the board. No turn 2 plays. We see a tunneled card on Wolzarg's side of the board. JJ, I'm going to take this opportunity to tell you something I've wanted to tell you for a super long time. I know that you
What's that?
sometimes type to people to avoid talking over people, but your typing is the loudest thing on the planet.
All right, then I
It
won't
is
do that.
infinite. Well, I mean, but it's possible you could just mute your mic when you're doing it. If you have
That's true.
Yeah, yeah.
Or just use your supercaster powers to speak. Anyways,
It-
action happening.
There is action. Cerulean Mentalist played on Revolution's side of the board. Wolzarg responds with the Buccaneer, sending that back to hand. As we can see, Revolution not in a great position with that Buccaneer here. Now only really has one play, well, 2 plays, I guess, now in hand. Replays a Cerulean Mentalist. But what's this? It's only 3 cost. Wolzarg will know that that's a different Mentalist, giving him hand information here. 2 counters on that Reese, which I believe is the only main deck tunneling troop that Wolzarg is playing.
Yep.
And another Buccaneer. So the 2 damage gets in. Every point of damage important for the aggro deck here. Revolution playing a more... What do you call this deck, JJ? It's mid-range to you?
It feels kind of like a control deck to me. I mean, he's got a lot of counters in it. He does have card advantage. I mean, he's still got a lot of the things that, like some of the Sapphire Ruby control decks of the past have had. So I would probably consider this a control deck.
We see the 3rd Mentalist, Wolzarg now with plenty of hand information. We see the Mirror Knight into Storm Cloud, into Charge Power. Wolzarg always aggressive with that Charge Power Mentalist. Anytime it can get 3 damage through and draw a card, he's happy to use it. His list, of course, only having those 2 main deck Gorfies, he chooses to just get that card draw as soon as possible, getting him closer and closer to the next Charge Power.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good example here. Revolution's going to have a real hard time. This is a deck that needs a lot of resources to operate. It's nice that he has counter magic here for Reese, but would be nice to be able to have the 5 resources potentially.
And having to stop to deal with Reese means that the board of Stormcloud, Mirror Knight, and 2 Buccaneers are going to get through. And in a deck that is as aggressively tuned as a Gorefeast variant, damage is not what you want to take.
And going to 10 here, definitely not what he wants. Stuck with no real plays in hand as well. This Buccaneer is nice. It will return the Mirror Knight to hand, stopping the Stormcloud from being Stormlings from being inspired, but it's not going to really slow down the board. Nice to see both players using Alternate Art Buccaneer, which is a fantastic looking piece of art.
And you have only a couple more days to obtain them for yourself if you would like. More time than we expected. Got the Neapolitan of Stormlings right here as a three charge Stormcloud is sacrificed for Stormlings. If the mirror and even
I'll do that.
So we see the Buccaneer on the Buccaneer. This is going to be game one here. There's not much Revolution can do to get back from this. We know he doesn't have those heat waves in the main. And even if he did draw into one here, he couldn't play it. Although, interesting, he did have a ton of Sapphire cards for his Sapphire Shard opening.
Yep, threshold was not a factor here, except for that Azure Fate. Azure Fate's like, where's my stuff? Where's my ruby?
So that is the concede. Revolution not really able to press through that one.
Yeah, stuck on 3. Just got overrun and overwhelmed by the small troops from the Cloud and the Mirror Knight.
McLeod asks, how do you get an alternate art Buccaneer? They are available in the Hex store for 25,000 gold. You can also find copies of this card sold in the auction house. It is only available in the store until the Armies of Myth patch hits.
Wolzarg talking a bit about the gameplay there. He didn't fear having his Storm Cloud killed. He'd rather have the extra Stormling with the hand he had.
That's the thing about Stormcloud, is a lot of the time you are capable of being a little more aggressive with how you play with it than people tend to be. They often are very conservative with it, because removal on your 2-drop is still removal on your 2-drop. It's the same. It's the same thing with Cerulean Mirror Knight. Really, is it's it's really great and it has to be removed. It's probably the strongest card in the game, but if you're using removal on a 2-drop, you're still using removal on a 2-drop, and there's not a whole lot of efficient removal. Vampire Kiss is actually probably the most efficient thing at getting rid of a Cerulean Mirror Knight. Not efficient in terms of resources, but efficient is in you gain some other benefit to using the removal than just actually using it.
Yeah, I mean, Burn is a pretty good answer, and that's one of the things that Revolution does have available to him here. One of the nice things about playing Ruby with your Sapphire is having the heat waves and the burns available to you. As well as Crackling Bolt for Dreamer. Just a lot of good, efficient answers to the Sapphire threats. Revolution just checking to make sure his reserves changes are taking. And we'll go into the next game. Yeah, Naraton, I agree. The version certainly that I played and that a couple of other friends of mine played at the VIP was definitely a lot more all in on the Azure Fate, whereas Revolution's version here is more controlling and doesn't have to have the Azure Fate to win. It's just a bonus feature where he can, oops, I win if I do happen to get it, but he doesn't have to get it in order to win. So it's nice.
I mean, we've already seen it Speed Zoo today.
Speed Zoo, yes. Speed Zoo is definitely a good little combo. As long as he doesn't get Pebble Elementals, he should be fine.
Grain of Sand Elemental.
Yeah, I know it's been talked about a number of times, but again, personal opinion, at least for game one, I think I usually prefer having the speed and direct damage because I really like having the ability to potentially kill your opponent out of nowhere. Like with the Azure Fate, especially if you have multiples, but even without multiples, just having the Azure Fate, having Heroic Outlaw if you play it, or just having the Elemental, having a big swing out of nowhere, can definitely steal some games for you.
So here we see the opening hand by Revolution. 3 shards, more thresholds met, and strong set of opening cards, really, too. Azure Fate is super strong for him here. And on the other side of the table, Wolzarg mulliganing down to 6. This is about the best that Revolution can hope for, especially with the Fishersmith. But we have seen Wolzarg play around the Fishersmith once already today.
Was that Rabbiton who played around it?
Oh, wait. Was it?
Rabbiton.
Yes. Yeah, it was. I'm wrong. We have seen Fishersmith being played around. This is important. I think even if your opponent plays around Fishersmith, in most cases, you're okay with it. Like, it's done its job at that point. So now the best part about Azure Fate's gem situation here is both of those effects only require a single threshold, right?
That's right.
Right.
Yep. Wolzarg saying, "I never play around Fishersmith. I'm a man."
That's probably
Do
because
the right thing.
I was gonna say that's probably because we're about to see him not play around Fishersmith, but we actually just see Fishersmith get Crackling Bolted there. The charge gain on Crackling Bolt, an important part of this Tetsit kind of combo deck. We're about to actually see some pretty crazy. I mean, in the perfect case for Revolution here, this is going to be some crazy Azure Fate into Azure Fate nonsense.
Yeah, for people who haven't seen it before, with Azure Fate, it will double Inspire if that matters. So if he has 2 Azure Fates and they stick around, it will give double buff to whatever troops come in later.
Would also like to note that Crackling Bolt used on the Cerulean Maronite. This deck can use Maronite to a lot fuller potential than Steel's deck. So I think that may be more of a threat.
We see the Crackling Bolt come out against the Azure Fate, so both players trading Crackling Bolts here. Wolzarg once again aggressively using the Blaze Elemental for a card draw. Deals 5 damage here. Gets to swing with his Blaze Elemental this time, which is probably important. So we see another resource come up. Another Azure Fate hit the board. Now, this is the important one because it'll deal 2 damage, and the Tetsit Elemental comes down. We're going to see a bunch of resources, 5 more damage. This could have been 10 damage. And both of these troops get to swing, dealing 7 more damage, bringing Wolzarg down to 4. Now, this is not actually where Revolution wanted him. Revolution probably would have wanted to keep back the Azure Fate here, if we're being honest, to keep Wolzarg above 5 health, because the danger here now is Heroic Outlaw for the crazy plays.
He could have, that was a concern, he could have held back Azure Fate Sorceress.
He could have held back Azure Fate Sorceress, and it might, with the deck list available, it might have been the correct decision to do so. Keep it, it's really kind of a weird situation. But there it is. There's the Heroic Outlaw, played for free. Will deal 4 damage, has speed, will draw a card.
Well, by itself, it's not enough.
No, but now he gets to deal 6 damage, draw another card. And we know he's running Buccaneers, he's running Burns, he's running Bolts. He's going to get to draw a card here. He's already taken Revolution down to 4. Will we see... There's the Buccaneer. He'll play that on his own Heroic Outlaw. Bring that back, replay it, draw another card.
Should be 2 cards now, right?
Yeah, it will be 2 cards. It'll be inspired twice by this Cerulean Mentalist.
Funny enough, Heroic Outlaw cost 1.
Also,
And he digs for a burn.
And Revolution did have sort of the victory in hand with the Elder Streamer. So Wolzarg winning on this turn, taking it down 2-0 on the turn he had to. Otherwise, Dreamer would have come through, unless he was holding that burn the whole time.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know. That was an awesome way to win it, and that's a great way of showing from the other side. It was different cards and different sockets that were making it happen, but the quick direct damage heroic outlaw. I mean, that is definitely a thing that can steal some matches from your opponents. He had a little bit different socketing on his side to make it happen because he had the mentalist there and he had the speed and direct damage on the outlaw itself instead, but basically the same effect.